So this is the iPad Pro. Now, usually in my reviews, I talk about stuff like the display, the build quality, all that other stuff, but this review is going to be similar to my MacBook review about people needing to hear the truth, or at least my truth. So the iPad Pro is the weirdest iPad out of the entire lineup, especially with this new M1 processor. I know people and companies who use the regular iPad. I know people who use the iPad Air, and I only know one person who owns the iPad Pro, and they don't use it for anything that would qualify it as a Pro machine. It's more used for just Googling random stuff and watching content, mainly YouTube, which, let's be honest, isn't the highest quality, especially when you compare it to actual streaming services like Disney Plus or HBO Max. But the funny thing is, even the most basic iPad, all the way to the one person who uses the Pro, they basically use it for the same thing. Now, there are definitely people who use the iPad Pro for professional use, such as video and photo editing or audio production. However, I feel as though a large majority of Apple-focused channels and even Apple themselves think that the only industry that is classified as professional is video and photo editing. I mean, what makes the iPhone so pro compared to the other iPhones? Or what makes the iPad Pro so pro compared to the other iPads? Is it the better camera that you have on the device and you can edit on the fly? I mean, when it comes to artists and drawing and utilizing this Apple Pencil, which mind you is an extra $150 after taxes, I suppose you can argue that the iPad Pro is great for the, art industry as well. Now, Apple, let's talk one-on-one. Another major industry. In fact, an industry that you're in yourself. So WWDC just passed, your Worldwide Developer Conference, a week-long annual Worldwide Developer Conference, not your video production conference, not your photo editing conference, not your Adobe can finally run on the iPadOS conference. No, it's your Worldwide Developer Conference. You know, the thing I pay $99 a year just to have a license for. Now, as a software engineer or developer or whatever you want to classify me as, because I can write hello world in 2 languages, which basically means I can create any software I want with the snap of my fingers. But there's no way you're going to market this thing as a computer or laptop replacement when you're neglecting your own developers to build apps. But it's even more than apps. How can I develop in general on an iPad? I can't. What do you want me to use? The Swift Playgrounds you guys just announced at WWDC? How about giving me Xcode that for some reason also wants to install 20 additional gigabytes for all your simulators and extra command line tools? Now, I understand if you want to market your Swift Playgrounds for kids, getting them to learn how to code, leveraging that AR kit with, the LiDAR scanner that you have at the back. I'm all about it. I support teaching kids to learn how to code in a fun way. Swift Playgrounds is by no means a negative, but there's no point in buying an $800 tablet just for that, especially when most of the time those kids probably have an iPhone that come with a LiDAR scanner, and a regular camera, even on lesser iPhones, do a pretty decent job of AR. And you know what else, Apple? Guess what everyone was using at WWDC? A MacBook, not an iPad. Let that sink in for your laptop replacement. Now, to be completely honest, I've been pretty negative in this review so far, so let's make things a bit more positive, but just a bit. Now, I see a lot of people talk positive about this machine, and for good reason. For one, the mini LEDs in itself are in fact fantastic. 5G, even though I don't really know anyone who uses a cellular iPad because it's usually at home or people are just using their personal hotspot or they're on public Wi-Fi, or people talk about how butter smooth ProMotion is, which it actually is. But above all, we now have the desktop-like processor, the M1. Now, Apple is marketing it as supercharging the iPad with 8 to 16 gigabytes of RAM, which we've never seen before in an iPad before. And at the end of the day, it's still just an iPad Pro, and that's the problem. It's like Apple knows that if they made the iPad a proper laptop replacement, who would buy the MacBook anymore? And to be quite honest, I wouldn't either. You see, if the iPad Pro could do everything that a MacBook could do, the iPad would be my main machine because it is a more compelling device. 100%. 1000% actually. But the reality is, they want you to own a MacBook, an iPad, and an iPhone. Now, clearly I'm biased because I'm talking from the perspective of a developer, but at the same time, I think to myself, not really. I'm just trying to understand Apple and the iPad Pro, and it really just doesn't make any sense. For example, let's say you get the 11-inch, you get the Magic Keyboard. You're already more expensive than the MacBook Air, which is a much better value if you intend to use it as an actual computer. You charge $130 for a pencil, which I'll admit, it's a nice pencil, but why not have it come included in your iPad? I mean, I think the answer to that is you're Apple, so you can get away with it. I mean, you have those sales with, hey, buy a MacBook, you get some AirPods for free. This is for your educational store. Well, what if I'm going to school for art? Why can't I get the iPad with the Apple Pencil for free during the sale? I know I'm stretching my budget here, but why not give the Magic Keyboard for free during the sale? Even though I know that's 100% never going to happen. You know what comes with free AirPods for education? The iMac. The iMac. You know what comes free with education? The Mac Mini. The Mac Mini. Now, I know the educational store is something that is primarily in North America and Western Europe, so I apologize to the global audience for not getting the opportunity to take advantage of these deals, even though Apple has developers globally, and I'm sure people around the world are trying to learn, or I guess increase their education by using Apple products. But the point I'm trying to make here is your iPad lineup, especially your Pro, is being neglected for no good reason when people use it for educational purposes. I appreciate AirPods, Apple, but if I'm purchasing an iPad and I find more benefit owning the iPad Pencil, the Apple Pencil, which pretty much costs the same as AirPods, sometimes even less, let me swap it out for the sake of my career. So there are people saying to buy the iPad Pro and cross your fingers in hopes in 1 to 2 years it becomes the computer that Apple is trying to convince you of. Listen, if you ever buy something now for almost $1,000 of it becoming what the company is envisioning, you're getting played. This is how Tesla is winning, ladies and gentlemen. Where is the Cybertruck? But the point I'm trying to make here is it's like that friend who says they're going to work out and get into shape, and then you see them a year later, they're exactly the same. Next year, they're exactly the same. Next year, they're exactly the same. And each time they come to you, they promise you, you're going to see a drastic change next year. The person's losing 1 pound a year. Now, 1 pound is no slouch. I'll clap, but sometimes you gotta lay off the Chipotle bowls because they're overpriced anyway. You need to actually go to the gym and reinvent yourself. And the iPad Pro in the last 3 years has felt like the same device. Now, for college students trying to be trendy, or for Whole Food shoppers like myself who spend $300 on 4 items of organic groceries, I'm just playing. I don't actually do that. I'm exaggerating. It's more like 6 items, but by all means, get the iPad Pro. If you need to spend almost $1,000 collectively to take notes in class, you got some real first world problems. I get it. You're trying to save the environment by not killing trees by paper and pencil, but take my advice, get yourself a laptop first. You'll thank me in 4 years. There are plenty of note-taking apps, and you can probably type faster than trying to write with this pencil. Or this Magic Keyboard that's gonna cost you an extra $300. The iPad should be a second priority if you don't already have a decent laptop. Now, can you get away with using your iPad Pro as your main machine? 100%. Everyone has a different use case and needs that they want to get out of their devices. But for the 99.96% of people, the M1 MacBooks can do everything the iPad Pro can do and probably better. The 0.04% is, let's say, the touchscreen, the display itself, spatial audio functionality. I don't know. I'm like really trying to pull 0.04%. Yeah, that's right. So that pretty much wraps it up for this review. Yeah, I can probably talk about the display, the M1 processor, how good this mini LED technology is, how good it sounds, how it performs, X, Y, and Z. I mean, really, it's just the iPad Pro from last year with a better screen and a better processor that you're probably not even going to notice a difference unless you're looking for it, because let's be honest, most people are either going to be A, watching content on this thing, or B, pick up and Google something real quick if they don't have their laptop lying around. Now, there are plenty of Apple channels on YouTube that will give you a general review of it. I'd say go watch theirs. If you guys want to know more about why I own an iPad Pro, let me know down in the comments below. I can definitely make a video on that. That'll be a spicy one. Anyway, guys, this is by no means to bash anyone who bought the iPad Pro as their personal computer. Like I said, everyone has different use cases and needs out of their devices. And if the iPad can do everything you need it to, I would actually recommend it over the MacBook any day of the week. I'm not here to judge people for the devices they own. People who do that are like beyond cynical. Anyway, I appreciate every sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. This is not for developers. I'll tell you that right now.